Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Darren Jackson and Alison McConnell here with me on this Friday. Delighted to have your company. And if you're on our YouTube channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends, like, share and follow us across all the social media. If you download the app, you'll get all the breaking news at your fingertips. Lots to talk about on the programme. Of course, Celtic and Aberdeen have the chance to stretch their lead over Dundee United and Rangers before, of course, they two meet on the Sunday. We'll discuss that. Blow to Rangers, Danilo is out for a month. Kieron Bowie is out for 4 months, which maybe prompted Hibs to sign Dwight Gale. We'll discuss that. Manager of the month is Jimmy Tillene. Player of the month is Callum McGregor. So, lots to get our teeth into. Let's first of all talk about something that we had a chance to look over the last couple of days, Ruffy, which is just basically coming out. It was Willie Collum talking about the VAR mistakes. It's going to be a monthly video. I mean, it must be absolutely riveting just listening to a referee talking about VAR. That'll be an absolute crowdstormer, that one.
Yeah, but it's something we were all moaning about last year. There was no dialogue. There was nobody coming out and telling people why they made these decisions. A lot of them were baffling to us.
Yeah. But we didn't think it was going to be a monthly show. I mean, unless Willie suddenly starts singing on it and they get, lots of acts on, Ruffy, it's not going to be...
You never know, you wouldn't put in by the SFA.
By the way, do you know what I'd love, Ruffy? I'd love to see the feed as well on the YouTube channel as Willie. If it's anything like our feed, Darren, it'll be mental. People just absolutely hammering him. Is that fair, Ali?
Not at all. I think we do the general public who go to football matches a gross disservice.
Oh, dearie me. Anyway, listen, the positive aspect of it is it clears up a few things.
Yeah, but that can go the other way as well. I mean, that
can... Well, we're about to ask you if it does or not. We're about to
It can go the opposite way as well, if they come out and say, yeah, we got that wrong, that opens another avenue for people to go, well, wait a minute, if we'd have got a penalty there, we could be sitting top six or out at the bottom six, or decisions that they're going to come out and say.
But that one, Ruffy, the penalty.
Which one?
Kyogo against Kilmarnock.
Yeah, that's the one they're talking about.
I mean the dialogue right away, they've not even looked at it, they've just said,
well, it was good for them.
He's stood big.
Yeah.
It was good for them to explain some of the stuff. The Kilmarnock one, they were telling us that you can't look at VAR if it's outside the box.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I didn't know that was a rule in the rule in there. So they're coming out and telling you things.
What, from a goalkeeper's point of view?
No, from VAR's point of view. No, the Kilmarnock one where he got tackled at the edge of the 18-yard box. I think it was Armstrong, and then get flicked the back of his ankle.
Yeah, they were looking for a penalty.
Well, he came out and said people wanted to know why did you not go to VAR because it wasn't in the box, or the referee deemed it wasn't in the box. That's why we never looked at it. There's a lot of things about VAR I don't think we all know about.
Well, the one thing he said was he was critical of Matthew McDermott's body language leading up to what he believes was a correctly awarded League Cup goal scored by Cyril Dessers against St Johnstone. That caused a lot of consternation.
Yeah, it did. I was actually working at that game, and I think at the time there had been a viewpoint that although his whistle didn't go, he seemed to gesture for a free kick to go St Johnstone's way. Craig Levine was pretty irked in the aftermath of it, bit his tongue, didn't want to court a fine, but bit his tongue. But he felt as though his players had stopped playing. I think there's an argument to say that play had gone on, but it definitely caused a lot of controversy that particular moment, and he was critical of how he had positioned himself in the build-up to that moment, although he did say he didn't blow his whistle, which had been the accusation during the game, that the whistle went and then play was allowed to continue.
Yeah, listen, I take your point, you're saying, it causes a bit of consternation afterwards, especially if they say they got it wrong. But they've got it wrong long before VAR came in, and they've looked at things, and they've had to hold their hands up. And there's been I remember the late and very amiable and approachable John Fleming at the SFA. He was a lovely man, and he would phone people and say, listen, we got it wrong. Sorry. You have to move on. You have to accept that mistakes will be made. So I am all for the transparency. I think Willie Collum deserves credit for saying, right, I'm being facetious about the monthly programme, but Willie's going to go on there, they're going to clear up things, and hopefully, as these little mistakes come up, the referees and the assistants and the VAR officials will start to get a better grasp, especially of the handball, which caused all sorts of problems.
Yeah, that's one that nobody knows about, Peter. I mean, like every time you see a defender now, he goes to make a tackle and his arms are right away, they're behind his back, and that's not the way to tackle.
Yeah, it's not a natural position. It's not a natural.
You've got to use your body, and I mean, if it's going in the net and it hits your hand, it's a penalty. But some of it's not deliberate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And listen, you know me, I've always been critical of referees, and I totally understand how hard a job it is. But it does hurt me when I see, I'm sorry, and it's cost a team 3 points.
Yeah.
And a manager's maybe down the bottom of the league, and listen, it's not the referee's fault that he's down. But that gives them a wee bit of confidence, and sorry doesn't work for me.
Yeah, but I'll tell you where it does work, Darren, and I take your point on this, but where it does work is the fact that if you understand from day one, which we've talked ad nauseum, yourself, everybody, if you understand from day one that the VAR was never going to solve everything, what it was going to do was create a higher percentage of getting decisions right by seeing things from different angles and hopefully, which didn't materialise in the early days, quickly come to a decision. So what they've done is they've managed to reduce the percentage of mistakes, but of the mistakes that are still there, even with VAR, you'll never take away the pain. That pain that you're talking about, contentious decision that they say they hold their hands up. Well, I'd rather they hold their hands up, Ali, at 10%, rather than the old days when it used to be maybe 30%.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I also think the thing about this show that you're talking about is I think it lends itself towards an element of transparency that we would welcome, that people have been crying out for a long time. Come and explain to us how you reached a decision, which I think is to be welcomed. You might not always agree with the decision itself or how they got to it, but I think having an explanation, seeing they're working, if you like, is a good way to present yourself. I think it brings the SFA, it brings referees into a more modern culture. I think we have been critical at times of our VAR silence around decisions, and clubs and teams, managers have been frustrated as to how decisions are given. I'm not saying this won't be a cure-all for some of those frustrations, but I think it will be helpful to understand how the position was got to. And I think if there is an acknowledgement of an error, I think it's a move in the right direction. And I think anything that encourages dialogue between both players, coaches and referees, I think is a good thing.
Yeah,
absolutely. I can see Craig Levine could be angry about it. He's got to be angry with his defenders as well, because yes, didn't stop. Do you know what I mean? He played on and put the ball in the net. Play until, and they say they heard the whistle, but no one really heard the whistle, Peter. Do you know what I mean? So play until the game's dead. Do you know what I mean? So it's that one I can see from both points of view. Craig being angry with the decision, and I would think being angry with his defenders.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
the monthly one, the figures will go through the roof if it's a Rangers Celtic game, where they got a goal, where they admit they got a goal wrong in the last minute. That would be fantastic.
I'll lay you odds. I'll lay you odds of 2-1 on that there is no live feed that they allow the messages to come through, because sometimes on here, and thankfully the majority of people who post messages while we put out a live show, the majority now, I think a really high percentage, are sensible football fans. You do get the odd nutcase from the early days, Ruffy. There was a higher percentage of them, but we managed to get rid of them and influence them to go back to fanzines.
I think most of them address me. Most of them say
yes. Alison's got a nickname on the social media at the moment, which is very unkind, I have to say. But every now and then, when she gets out of hand, a reminder of her nickname does. That's all I'm saying to you. And by the way, I don't know if you influenced your family, but Chris Fraser says it's good to see Darren Jackson looking well. Doesn't get any better than that. Great to see Darren's cousin just posting that message for us. Lots of people talking about the referees and Paul Brady. Why wasn't the Kyogo challenge reviewed? The ref should have been sent to the monitor. I think everybody looks at that and was absolutely aghast at the time. But listen, we've got transparency. Let's be positive about it and say, well done, Willie Collum. There will be, I think you're right, Ruffy, as soon as it involves Celtic and Rangers, there's all sorts of angry people
Do you think you would applaud Willie Collum for it? I think previous occupants of that post may have been reticent to put themselves in that kind of position. I think you'd have to applaud him for being willing to come out and show face, really, and know that you're on a hiding to nothing in certain elements of it. I think it's a step in the right direction.
Yep,
although the VAR thing was to help the referees, I think this has put an added pressure on the referees now. Because if you're the referee that's going to come out every month and get something wrong, and it's going to fall on you heavily somewhere down the road.
Well, of course, because one person has mentioned here on our feed, Ruffy, the referee, it's Tone, who says the referee should be demoted to lower leagues with persistent mistakes.
They do. They don't get cup finals. They don't get semi-finals. They don't. They're judged on how well they do. I mean, it's a standard that a lot of people don't know that, but they do get reviewed and they get assessed.
Yeah,
I'm maybe being harsh here, but it's right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's right, because if a player makes that many mistakes, he's dropped.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't get back in the team.
Yeah, but I think from your point of view, listen, the one thing that this episode will do on a monthly basis, and remember, Willie's speaking to referees daily, is once you get clarity on things, once you try and get to a consistent decision on a type of incident, then hopefully those mistakes become less and less. You know, it's always a situation where I'd rather that some referees were able to, you have to be big enough to take that 5% of criticism that comes if there's a smaller amount of mistakes. But remember, you know, we had a situation where it was just non-stop referees conspiracy. He's a big Rangers fan, he's a Celtic fan. I've seen this guy in a pub. You know, it just does your head in. Yeah. This is a situation where we're getting to a lower percentage of mistakes. There will always be, they'll never go away, but at least we're getting to a situation where it's not constantly, you know, looking at people and looking into their background and all this nonsense and then saying this is definitely somebody who's got an agenda, or this is a mistake and they never addressed it. We're getting it slightly better. I have to read this out, Ali, because it's, you know, people listen regularly, and if I'm going to read out Darren's compliment, I've got to read one out for you. Derek in Glasgow says, I applaud the use of reticent. Well done. There you go. Fantastic. Ruffy thought reticent had been signed by Partick Thistle as a left back, but nevertheless. Let's have a look at the fixtures for the weekend, and there's some humdinger games for us to enjoy. Aberdeen against Motherwell, I'll be up there to see what all the fuss is about. Celtic against Hearts, Hibs against St Johnstone, Ross County Dundee, St Mirren against Kilmarnock, and Dundee United against Rangers on the Sunday. So by the time Dundee United and Rangers lock horns at Tannadice, there could be an even bigger gap at the top for Celtic and Aberdeen if they were to win their games respectively. So let's talk about that first one. Celtic, Hearts, Johnson, Taylor, Forrest, all trained. So, you know, everything seems to be rosy for them going into this match.
Yeah, it certainly does. You know, and they've proved again, first 10, 15 minutes, the end of the game's at home. You know, the opposition have to be on their toes. They can't afford to lose in that space of time. Celtic just go into overdrive. So, I mean, I think Hearts will have to have some kind of game plan, because things aren't going particularly well for them just now. In the dressing room, there'll be apprehension. They can't say they're going to be positive getting into this game thinking they're going to win it. So I think the best they can do out of this, the really best they can do, will be a draw or damage limitations.
Yeah, this is what the Celtic manager and the camp had to say ahead of the game. Of course, I think the emphasis from Brendan Rodgers is basically trying to look forward to the fact that they've got Greg Taylor, looking to try and get him on a longer term deal, I'm led to believe, which gives you an indication of the strength they've got now in depth and the competition they've got.
Yeah, absolutely. I think left back is an area where Celtic have been looking for reinforcements. They obviously managed to bring in the boy from Barcelona in the window, and I thought it was interesting. I thought Greg Taylor played out his skin against Rangers in the game just before the international break. I think clearly it's an area of the park where they've needed a bit of competition. However, I think it'd be harsh on Taylor just now to go out the team. I think he's done enough to stay in for the time being, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think he's probably warranted a new deal at Celtic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing about it, a lot of people are looking and thinking, maybe his time's up. I don't see that at all. I think, Darren, as you know, Greg Taylor, like everybody else, you thrive off a bit of competition.
100%, yeah, and they brought the young boy in. We don't know what he's like. Everyone thinks because he's come from Barcelona, he's going to be a superstar.
Yeah.
But they've just signed him on a 5-year deal, so he mustn't be a bad player. But I think, Alison, I think you're 100% right. I think against Rangers, he was outstanding, and as was Scales, as was the whole team, but as was Scales. And those guys, and Brendan said it himself, that Scales is not sexy, but what would have done without him. And I think Greg Taylor as well. The way they play, the way he goes into the middle of
the boys with quite a humble attitude. Boys that you can see go in, work their socks off, do a job for the team. And
again, I think that's what Brendan's saying. The Scottish boys or the British boys don't get as much as the foreign players, which is right. It's always been the same. So, but I think Greg Taylor does deserve a new deal. I think he has been fantastic. Everyone will always look, how can they do the Champions League? But it's no just Greg Taylor that we've struggled. That Celtic have struggled in the Champions League. It's all over the pitch. But yeah, I think he's been outstanding.
Of course, Celtic themselves as a team have been outstanding since the start of the season, and obviously on a high after the win over Rangers. Interestingly enough, Ruffy, only one more match away from equalling a record that I think was back at 1906, 1907, which is
his first season.
Yeah, right, exactly. Just moved from to Partick Thistle. It's 5 games without conceding a goal in the league.
Yeah, and they've been impressive, particularly at home. I'm not going to start knocking the other teams because they go and do their best, but they're way short of Celtic. With the players that Celtic have got just now, and we've been talking about this Celtic team. There doesn't seem to be any flaws, particularly in the home competition. So I haven't seen any weak link yet. I mean, there's nobody really set about them, and there's nobody had them back pinned against the wall or under pressure. So until that happens, which will probably be the Champions League when they come against better sides, but certainly at home, at this moment in time, they look invincible.
Yeah. Managed to get that wee line.
You would probably say the first 10 minutes of the Old Firm game, they were under pressure a bit.
Yeah.
But they came through it, and the way they got a hold of the game and kind of dominated the game. That it's just experience. Good. They've got great experience, and I think the last 2 goalkeepers have been unbelievable signings.
Yeah.
I think Speichels, when they were talking about signing them, people are obviously looking and saying, he's there. I mean, Brendan, obviously, it was great that he's worked with them before.
Yeah.
But I think he's been tremendous.
Yeah, we are about to find out how tremendous he is in the Champions League group stages, and it's a big week coming up. We'll be looking at all the European games in the Champions League and then the Europa League and Conference. As far as this is concerned, this game, it's Celtic against Hearts. Hearts need it like a hole in the head. There's all the talk that Stephen Naismith could be under real pressure. Alison was having a chat with a former Jambo. He played for Celtic as well, Paul Hartley, who's now the manager at Cove, about the pressure on Stevie Naismith. And we'll come back to that just shortly. Obviously, from his point of view, Paul Hartley, in the discussions with you, Ali, had mentioned that quite simply he thinks he's got credit in the bank.
Yeah, that was the phrase he used. He was saying he thinks it would be harsh to judge Stephen on tomorrow's game, regardless of how that may go, and also that he felt as though the European aspect of this season had been difficult for Hearts to deal with. He was saying that clubs out with of Celtic and Rangers toil at the opening weeks of the season when you see them trying to compete in European qualifiers and come back to domestic action, that they all don't really have the resources to be able to do so. So he was saying he thinks that given a bit of time over the next couple of months that Stephen Naismith will take Hearts back to where they were towards the end of last season. And I think his point was that he needs to be given a wee bit of time. It's just too early to make a judgment just yet on him.
Yeah, I'll get the thoughts of you guys on that in a moment. Kerry Pollock was through at the Oriam to hear from the manager.
This weekend in the Scottish Premiership, Hearts take on Celtic in Glasgow, and with 10 games without a win, Stephen Naismith admits the football hasn't been the best, but something else also isn't going in his favour.
There's been moments that we've not been good enough. There's been small details in games that have cost us big, and then I've also think we've not had any bit of luck. There's been the last Dundee United's goal comes from a deflection, goes in the first half. Penrice has a deflected shot and it just goes past the post. These wee moments aren't going for us as well, and when that all adds up, it costs you.
Midfielder Cammy Devlin has penned his future to the club until 2026 and has made it clear what his ambitions are of what he would like to achieve during his time in the capital.
The one thing that I've made quite clear since I've been here is obviously coming third's great, and you know, when I came here I wasn't really sure on European football. I didn't really know that was a possibility. That's the kind of thing you're saying. I didn't know what I was getting into, so I've done that. You know, 2.5 years last year we played, but we weren't in the group stage, so this year we got that to look forward to and my first season. But the one thing I've made so clear that I want to do in the next few years and beyond is win a cup, and I just feel like that would be the best thing.
Premiership action returns for the Tynecastle outfit this weekend at Celtic Park. Kick-off is at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, Cammy Devlin, new deal, 2026. The one thing that he hasn't had in his favour, and this is a big problem, Darren, if you don't get your striker, your top man who's been banging the goals in last season, if he's not scoring, then you can suddenly feel the heat and you're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, that's 2 seasons in a row he's been phenomenal, really, Lawrence. And when he's not scoring, that's been the problem. When he's not scoring over the last 2 seasons, nobody else is really scoring. Vargas will maybe get 5 or 6 goals a season, which everyone's going to have to stand up and be counting. Tomorrow, I think you're right about Paul Hartley said, it's hard to judge tomorrow. The way Celtic are playing, the way Hearts are playing, listen, you never know what can happen in a game, but it looks like Celtic could win this game comfortably if Hearts don't. The first, you always say, and the first 20 minutes is because Celtic will come out the blocks. They've not had the game for 2 weeks. They'll be buzzing to get started.
Does a hammering put him under pressure?
I think a hammering always puts anyone under pressure if you're losing games, Peter.
Yeah.
But I think it's very hard to judge someone on. He's not getting judged on Celtic. He's getting judged on, I think, is it 1-1 in 16, in which Stephen will know that's not good enough for a Hearts manager. But I don't think tomorrow should come into the equation. Should he go or should he not go? He'll be looking for his players. They have to be brave tomorrow. There's one thing, without the ball, you know you're not going to have a lot of the ball. You're going to have to be brave without the ball. But then when they get the ball, again, you always say you have to be brave with the ball and without, if they're going to do anything, because you can't be pinned in for 90 minutes. They need to try and be brave and get up the pitch and try and cause Celtic problems, which other teams have caused Celtic problems. I mean, again, Ruffy's, I don't think you meant they're going to be invincible, but just now they do look, but you never know until you have a go at them.
Yeah, the other big problem here is he's been without key players. Beningame, I thought, was an excellent player for him last season. The other thing about it as well, Ruffy, is he managed to turn it around last season by beating Celtic. So that was a positive for him. And then they went on a run, I think, of about maybe 11 games without losing. So there's a key point where he was able to turn it around when they was under pressure last season, and then they just comfortably finished third, to his credit. So it's about trying to get that right mix and obviously having a right goal, and not allowing Celtic, a different type of Celtic this time around, I have to say, than the one that they faced last season, because Celtic were stuttering at times last season.
Yeah, but again, I think some of the Hearts fans have to be a bit realistic, because before the season started, all the fans were going, "Oh, how good is he? You know, bringing in all the players early. He's brought in 4 or 5 players. He's way ahead of everybody else." Sometimes these players take time to settle. It doesn't matter who they are. I don't think Spittle has settled particularly, and Danda for me was the best player of the league last year. He hasn't really set the hair on fire yet, but I still think, you know, Darren's right, you can't judge him on this Celtic one. I think he's got enough bonus points with the board. I think, unfortunately, that Hearts segment of support that have never really got behind him are just not helping. And a bad result tomorrow, that segment will just jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, what, the bandwagon?
Bandwagon.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was a new type of wagon that you'd invented there, Ruffy. Yeah, I speak to a lot of Hearts fans, speaking to one this afternoon, an absolute diehard, and he was saying, I said, "You going to the game?" And he says, "Not a chance, I'm going to go and play golf." You know, because he just fears the worst against the Celtic side, he thinks. And he again said to me, a lot of Hearts fans want, you know, they want him out. There's that groundswell. I hope that the board stick with him. I like him. I think he's got credit, as Paul Hartley mentioned. I think they should stick with him. Whether they will or not is another matter. Thanks to so many of you for just posting your thoughts on that game. Rough your prediction. I think Hearts are on the end of a hiding tomorrow. I think Celtic will win 4-0, and I very rarely say 4-0 on this programme.
Well, I think Craig Gordon will have something to say about that. I think it's always good going back to your old club and putting on a performance. I think he probably will do. He'll have to.
3-0?
No. I think he'll keep it down to about 2.
2-0. A comfortable 2 or a really tough one?
Really comfortable 2.
Yeah, Darren?
It's hard, Peter. 2 ex-clubs and we take great time at both of them, and it's hard to say, but I can see 3-0.
Yeah.
3-0 Celtic.
Yeah, the great thing about having you on, Darren, is every club is your ex-club. I love that, by the way. Only you and Chick Charnley have got an extensive knowledge of every division.
People like Darren who played in derbies. Many derbies you played in? Celtic won.
They played in the 3 with Dundee, Edinburgh, and the North East.
Yeah. Did you get a Newcastle Sunderland? Yeah, as well. Brilliant. Newcastle, Meadowbank, Celtic, Hearts, Hibs, Dundee United. Anybody else I've missed?
St Johnstone.
And St Johnstone at the tail end as well.
And China for 8 days.
China, 8 days. I was gutted you never won Player of the Year in that.
Coventry.
Yeah, Coventry as well. China, 8 days. I knew you would like the food. You didn't know that, did you, Ali?
I didn't.
Yeah, that was the day he just kept blanking my call as I wanted an insight into Chinese football. I'll tell you, we got a real insight 24 hours later at Tannadice. It's Dundee United against Rangers on the Sunday, and Blair Malloy's been out there at the Rangers training centre to find out what Philippe Clement makes of not only Rangers' predicament at the moment after losing that game to Celtic, but all the talk about the captain, James Tavernier.
It's been almost 2 weeks since the scenes of some Rangers fans confronting their team outside Ibrox after that 3-0 Old Firm derby defeat swept across social media. And manager Philippe Clement said, although he understands the frustration of fans, he does not think the anger shown that day is indicative of the entire support.
We had the same frustration and the anger inside of us. So, in a way, you understand things. In another way, it depends what words are used in that way. So that happened that moment in the heat of the night or the afternoon. I've been now 10, 12 days longer in Glasgow after also, and I met a lot of fans who reacted in a totally different way and were very positive and supporting the team and the club.
Much of the ire of Rangers fans was directed at Captain James Tavernier, and his manager has praised the maturity with which he's dealt with the situation, but admits the pressure he faces is just part and parcel of being a captain.
I had the same experiences before in Bruges, and I was there 10 years, like that. And in the moments when it's really good, it's really nice to be captain, and in moments when the team doesn't perform, and it's not only about you, it's about the team, and you don't reach the expectations of the fans at moment, you're the first one that they talk to or that they yell to at that moment. So I had these moments also in my career. It's part of being captain. It's part of being captain, and I have to say it takes it really mature.
The Rangers manager will be hoping to get his side back on track as they take on Dundee United at Tannadice this Sunday at 12 p.m.
Yeah, really looking at it, it could be an absolute cracker. Lots of people obviously will give their opinion on how they think it's going to go. It's certainly a tough call when you consider Dundee United's start to the season.
Yeah, I think they've been very impressive. I think Dundee United will feel as though there's a freedom in this game. I think they'll also sense a weakness in Rangers, just the way that they've started the season, and also the noise just around the team and around the club in the aftermath of that game and defeat to Celtic. I think Rangers will probably win. I think they'll be too strong for Dundee United. I think they'll prevail simply because they have to. I think anything other than 3 points on Sunday will invite another fresh wave of pressure under Philippe Clement. I think they will, for that reason, go and get the win by whatever means necessary. But I think it'll be a difficult afternoon for them. I think they'll know that they've been in a game.
The fallout from the defeat to Celtic has been dramatic, Ruffy. At times I thought some of it was way over the top. Nobody likes to lose a Glasgow derby, but over and above that, it's early days. He certainly was on the charm offensive this week, Philippe Clement, speaking to fans at the Charity Foundation dinner. And I think the only thing I would say about him is I think he's walking a tightrope now all the way to January the 2nd. They have to stay on Celtic's coattails.
Yeah, well, any interview he does or anything he says, he's trying to keep everything together. Obviously carry on with the stand, and Celtic beating them. He's putting out excuses there and putting out, a lot of things that he hopes that some of the Rangers supporters will buy into, that they aren't a big gap and all that carry on. But he himself will know the truth that there is a gap there. So you're right, he needs to get performances, he needs to get wins. I'm different for Ali. I don't think Dundee United have beaten anybody of any significance this year. So I'm going to go Rangers to win this one 2-0.
Yeah, oh, right, okay, so a comfortable 2-0 for you. They've beaten Hearts, St Johnstone and St Mirren and Ross County and drew with Dundee. And then, of course, as you mentioned, the early games in the League Cup. I don't know where the story gathered pace. It could be an agent, it could be maybe James Tavernier was testing the ground, or maybe Rangers were trying to flush out somebody to buy him. I didn't see James Tavernier leaving. I just thought that whole thing, if it did gather pace and was something that had any substance to it, it would be an act of lunacy on my part.
Yeah, well, you could only see it that they wanted to get him off the wage bill, Peter, because I would imagine he's one of the highest paid players there.
Yeah.
Because what he's done, and listen, I've been critical of James Tavernier to the extent of he's been there 8 years. And he's only won one title.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, but everything else, his play, his goals, his assists, his quality, he deliveries into the box. Rangers need Tavernier just now. Do you know what I mean? And Philippe Clement is talking about, I've had it when I was at Bruges, and I'm not being disrespectful to Bruges. It'll be nothing like Rangers and Celtic. It'll be nothing like, and James Tavernier is under pressure because he is captain, and this is where you've probably played under unbelievable captains that need to stand up and tell the players what this, I don't know if they have meetings inside and all that, tell the players what's needed here and what this is all about, what the club's all about. That's what they need just now, and I think at Tannadice, Dundee United, I can only see Jim Goodwin saying we need to get right out the blocks here and put them under severe pressure.
Yeah.
Especially, I always like going down the hill in the second half into the Dundee United fans, but I think going down the hill in the first half and having a right go and putting Rangers under pressure. But again, I think Rangers will stand up to it tomorrow. I think that on Sunday, I think they'll win 2-1.
Yeah.
The Tavernier thing, they've not really helped themselves with all the speculation about this. Is he going? Is he no going? Because as soon as he makes a mistake, fans are just fans. They go, well, does he want to be here or does he not want to be here?
I don't think he's played the way he has. He's never got far, and take the Celtic game out of it. He just, even like some of his crossing out the park, you've never seen that from James Tavernier. He does look a different type of player. He does look as like, does he want to leave? And I'm not saying you play bad to leave, but he just does it. His confidence looks shattered as well because his quality is incredible, but it's just not been the standard that he's set.
Yeah, another thing that will never go away is, and this is I think very much a British thing. We tend to try and highlight the negatives of what he can't do, rather than all the positives of what he has done. He's a fullback who scored over 130 goals. I mean, give me peace. I don't know many right backs that have scored 130 goals, unless you're Dani Alves or Cafu. But the problem here is, sometimes we're always tagging someone and saying, right, you're a right back, and that's it. You can do nothing else. Maybe another manager would come in and see him, and I don't see him as a right back. I just don't see him as a right back.
Peter, Celtic fans, I'll not bother if Alistair Johnson never scores another goal for Celtic.
Yeah, defend.
As long as he defends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you've got players up the pitch, they've got all the players, the two midfield players, they've got the three forwards that'll score the goals. So it's been unfair to Tavernier, but so the fans that are relying on, by the way, at times, relying on Tavernier to get the goals. Him and Dessers are really the ones that get the goals. But as I say, the Celtic fans will not bother if Alistair Johnston doesn't score.
Which is a sad indictment of that team, Ali, that those two.
Yeah, absolutely. I think not just this team, even previous teams too, previous seasons. I think he's shouldered a lot of responsibility. I would say there are very clear defensive deficiencies within his game. I think you can look and see the goal return is fantastic, coming from a right back. I think he's dug Rangers out a hole a lot of times with big goals at key moments in games. However, I think when Rangers play quality opposition in Europe, when they come up against Celtic, you do see that he is exposed in a defensive sense.
Yeah. What about Aberdeen? They've got Motherwell up at Pittodrie. I'm looking forward to it, Ruff. I thought I'd nip up there to the Granite City, see what all the fuss is about.
Yeah, well, as I said last week, any time I see the highlights up there, the banners are up, the flags are up behind that goal, they're everywhere.
You love flags and banners, don't you?
Yeah, I haven't seen it at Aberdeen for a long, long time. And they've bought into what the new manager's doing. You see that tomorrow, the place looks abuzz. It looks back to where it was before. Again, we've talked about who they've beat. Not really beat any of the big ones yet, but they're winning games and the fans have bought into everything he's done and they're playing good football.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what reception Duke will get. We were going to start a campaign, the search for Duke, but he showed up. He's back there. Here's the manager of the month, Jimmy Tilleen.
For me, it's like not the most important thing. The most important thing is here, and you can't change the past anyway. For me, it's not because now we see, and now we have to focus on the future and what we can give to the team from now and forward, and that's more interesting for me, and not what's happened because. They have a good talk, the club and him, and now he's back and he's integrated well with the players. Now we have to be optimistic about the situation and give everything in the training and give something for the team, and that's my focus.
Can you imagine if you walked into the Celtic dressing room? He'd have got stuck. He'd had to have a really strong build walking into a dressing room with the way players are and a bit of banter and that. He'll have to be strong enough to take any banter that's going to come in his way.
I think he'll get pelters in that dressing room.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, players like to get pelters, so yeah, I would have enjoyed that.
There wasn't, there was fair banter when you had your brain operation. I mean, I don't think too many people let you off the hook there, did they?
Oh, no. To tell you the story, and when Stubbsy Jackie told me, and Simon came into the hospital, and I was lying in my bed, and tubes coming out my nose, coming out my head, and I was just lying there in the UK and all that, and the television and all that, just the remote control, and he says, right, we're away now and all that, and they just took the remote control away and put a porno on the...
Oh well.
That's I didn't expect you to say that, but that's exactly the type of thing that those characters would do. But that's, to be fair, that's the camaraderie of it all. But listen, he's got to come back. He's got to... We all know the circumstances. You don't come back, you won't be able to play anywhere. So he's back, and boy, it's an impressive run of games. And if they win against Motherwell, then
it's interesting, isn't it? It would be maybe a different story if he was walking into a team who hadn't been winning.
100%.
So you're coming back into a whole groundswell of optimism, encouragement, this wave of excitement about Jimmy Tilleen. Whether or not it's grounded in reality is a whole other thing. We'll discuss that at the end of October.
Yes.
That's a whole other thing. But at the minute, these fans are delighted with the team, with the direction the team is going. There is a feel-good factor around Pittodrie, and I think that may just extend to a welcome back to the fold. I think if they hadn't been winning it, you might have found the reception very, very different.
But I mean, you look at Motherwell and what they're doing, and you see Aberdeen at home. Everything seems to be, there's a real, not only a feel-good factor, but Aberdeen at home, if they're winning, suddenly the fans think, well, we're going to go and follow them in great numbers away from home as well.
Yeah, and I think what you've seen is they've ground out wins in certain games that they look as though they've maybe been about to drop points. Even Ross County, the last game before the international break, we have a mini pitch invasion when there's a winner. I think they've got themselves over the line when they've needed to. It's maybe not always been fantastic performances, but they've been winning games, and I think that's so important for a new manager coming in, just being able to set a very immediate tone and have everyone on side. You're not fighting against the current at any point. You've got everyone behind you, and it's a case now of going and being able to lay a foundation and build upon it. I think they'll win tomorrow. I think they'll beat Motherwell. I fancy them to be the third force this season, I think.
I fancy them.
Tomorrow, yeah, I fancy them on Saturday. Yeah, and listen, we all know it's all about confidence, and they're playing. You're 100% right about Duke. If they'd been losing, it would have been putting an arm around them. Yeah, we need you back in, but they don't need him now. He has to make up with everybody to try and get back in the team, and it can only be a positive because he was a good player for them. So you're bringing someone that you know on the bench that can come on and do something. But listen, it's all about luck as well. And when we saw Stephen Naismith's interview, and the Dundee United goal was a deflection, and they had a deflection in the first half. It went the wrong side of the post. When things are going for you, it's brilliant, and Aberdeen will take everything just now. And you spoke about the Aberdeen have always had a great away support, Peter, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere you go, I mean, it's incredible. But they needed to get Pittodrie. I've always believed that Aberdeen, I think everyone, they've lived in the past for Fergie for too long. They need to make new memories now, and just now they're making them.
Yeah, I'm looking at their side. I mean, there's a new generation of, I would say there's a new generation of Aberdeen fans. And, you know, prior to that, a lot of Aberdeen fans are not obsessed by Fergie. They just want to see a team give their all and try and win games. The difference now is, and I think this is the key element of it, Ruffy, they've got players that have got a trick. Now, Keskinen looks as if he's not bad, got something to offer. He got absolute pelters in midweek for not playing in his teammate in that game against England that could have given them a lead. He looks good. Nielsen looks good. They're talking about McGrath being able to move. McGrath's been able to move a little bit further forward with the freedom now, along with Shinnie. So they've got this kind of a solidity. They've got the ability to win games, which is something that at previous Aberdeen sides over the last couple of years, they were giving away goals at the back that were just criminal, and it cost managers jobs. Yeah,
last year was horrendous if you were an Aberdeen supporter, you know, to be in the bottom six for most of the season and to hang on in there waiting to change. I think it was the centre-halves were most of the problem. I think the goalkeeper was okay. You know, but they've got the young boys at Mackenzie, the fullback, in there. You know, I think they're looking a wee bit solid yet, but again, I know they're on a good run. They haven't played a Hibs, a Hearts, a Rangers, a Celtic. I think if they'd come through the games with good results, then you would be going, well, this is a new Aberdeen side. Yeah. Until that actually happens, then I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting.
This is October's the big month, Ruffy. We've said to you, we're looking at Aberdeen and we're saying to ourselves, right, They've got 9 wins. They've got Motherwell, then they've got Spartans, winnable. Dundee, winnable. Hearts, and then in the middle of October, they've got Celtic, Dundee United and Rangers. And that's the time once we get to our programme on, I think it's, if I have a look here, the 2nd of November is the fact the Wednesday is Aberdeen against Rangers at Pittodrie on the 30th of October. So on the 31st, the show is going to be an absolute howitzer, Ruffy, because we'll get a chance to.
I would go as far as to say that game could be maybe a decision who's going to be second or third.
What, the Aberdeen Rangers game?
No, at the end of the season, after that game.
Oh, that's a big call, Ruffy.
No, with the run-up, you've given me Aberdeen there. You would have, the Rangers would have to be equal everything they've done coming up to that game. And that game, I think it'll be tight. And I think if Aberdeen win it, they could probably be second.
There you are. Ruffy's taking the heat off everybody. By the way, Darren, you can say anything now all the way to the end of the show. Ruffy's taking the heat off, as Ali, hasn't he?
He
what
has
a line
indeed.
that is.
Yeah, I think Rangers will be second.
You agree with me?
No, I think Rangers will be comfortably second this season.
Comfortably?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about up to that game.
Oh, so you're not talking about
No, I'm
the
talking
campaign
about up to that, win that game,
Yeah, right,
win that
okay.
game.
Right.
And the teams that Aberdeen are going to play, I would think Rangers will probably have harder games than what Aberdeen have got up until that game.
Right,
I agree with you, Ali. I think Rangers will be second. I just think
Come May, I
people
think.
have a run and then they do very well. And once they get a couple of injuries, it's hard to replace that. And there's that many teams. Was it Aberdeen a few years ago?
Celtic,
Yes, and they always thought Aberdeen can do it, and it's just so.
What Rangers got then up to that game?
Well, just about to say to you, Ruffy, since you opened your gob. They've got Dundee United away, they've got Dundee at home, they've got Malmo away, because remember, they've got European games, they've got Malmo away, they've got Hibs at home, Lyon, then St Johnstone at home, and then they've got Kilmarnock, Steaua Bucharest, and then St Mirren, and then Aberdeen on the 30th of October. Now, the one thing that goes against it all, and the one thing is Europe. Rangers have always been in the last 5 years.
Did you say they've got St Johnstone, they've got Hibs, and then they've got Dundee, St
Johnstone.
Hibs, and St Johnstone at home?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they would think that's a good run for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, as I've said, I think he's walking a tightrope where he's got to make sure that they're on Celtic's tail till he gets to Ibrox on January the 2nd. And January the 2nd is where Philippe Clement mentioned after the Old Firm game, quite simply, we'll see in January. So he's thrown down the gauntlet to say we'll be a different team, we'll see how much of a gap there is, we'll see a different Rangers on January 2nd, which I think, he said it after the game. We're not putting words in his mouth. That's exactly what he said, and I think that's really kind of, it's not a pressure for him. He's just said they've got to get on a run now all the way to January.
I think it does put him under pressure, that remark, and I think what it does is there are 5 points between the two teams at the minute. I think Rangers can't afford another slip. It's as simple as that. It needs to be perfect from here on in until January, and then hope that they can take something off of Celtic when they face them at Ibrox.
Sean Maxwell says Rangers must win a cup or the manager gets his P45. Flying Haggis says Ruffy's backpedaling Peter. He's a coward. You're absolutely right. That's 100%. I can't argue with you because as soon as he knows he's potentially going to be the clip on social media, you can hear the beep 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 of the car reversing, and that's him trying to get out of it.
I say after that game, not at the end of the season. Not the end of the season.
Right, okay. Hibs against St Johnstone. I'll tell you one thing. Did we give a prediction for Aberdeen against Motherwell? I think Aberdeen will win 2-1.
I'm going 2-0.
2-0.
2-1.
2-1. Okay. Hibs against St Johnstone. I'll tell you, if I was the Hibs manager, I'd be raging with the Scotland under-21 boss with Kieron Bowie now 4 months out. I mean, this boy was trying to get his fitness going.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal for both of them, for the player and for the club. I think 4 months, you're talking it's potentially 2025 before you're seeing him back in action. Yeah, I think it will be. I think he looked lively, he'd looked bright coming on for Hibs across recent games. I think that'll be a huge blow for David Gray.
Yeah, I agree that he looked when he came on and scored. The boy had been out for a wee while. That would have given him a lot of confidence into the Scotland squad. You know, again, Hibs will be getting a better player coming back, and unfortunately he's got that injury. But they brought somebody else in.
Yeah.
And
do you like Dwight Gale? I thought he was a good player.
Yeah, I think so. But I just think Hibs have got to start winning home games. I think Hibs supporters need to be buying into everything they're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know why we're in this, and we're guilty of it at times because we have to discuss the narrative that comes out right across Scottish football, from fans, from everyone, pundits, radio stations, newspapers. Pressure on managers now to immediately hit the ground running is unbelievable. I think David Gray should just be told, listen, David, you're going to hit the skids along the way here. We're going to try and support you. You've got Malky there to help you. Get on with it.
100%, Peter. You were at the Dundee game. Now they're a whisker away from winning the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then they go to Kilmarnock and they lose a penalty in the last minute. So I know it's hindsight, but they could have had 6 points, and David Gray's a good manager. Do you know what I mean? He'd made the decision by bringing Bashiri on with not long to go, and it gave Dundee territory in the middle of the pitch, and they got deeper and deeper. But if they win the game, you're thinking, well, he's shut up shop, and defensively they've done well. So you've got to make decisions, and you probably look back and think, I should have done that. But what I don't like is people like that. It's too big a job for his first job. But he's been under, I think, 3 managers.
Yeah.
So he's learned under 3 managers. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. I see, and I think he'll have. I'm going again tomorrow. I think he's got all the backing, and I think the Bowie one is a major blow. Yeah. Because you saw when he came on. By the way, he caused Celtic problems when he came on. Very good. I mean, when I was a scout with Blackpool, I tried to sign him for Blackpool. Yeah. He went to Fulham, which I would have gone to Fulham as well. But I rate him very highly, and it must be a massive blow that. I spoke to David. I was at the 21 game on the Friday night, and I said it's good that he's getting again 60 minutes because they didn't want to play him too early because they were worried. So it must be a blow that he's played Scotland 2 games and he's out for 4, not just a hamstring. He's out for 4 months. Yeah. But, so he's a major blow. But I think you're right with Dwight Gale. I looked at, I'm 34, and everyone looks after themselves now, but he does. He looks really fit. He looks slim, and he's always scored goals, and his attitude, no airs and graces about it. He just gets on with it and works. He seems to work hard and that. So I think, yeah.
Unless something dramatic has happened, I've watched him play, and I liked him at Crystal Palace, Newcastle. I think he's a dangerous player. I think it's a great signing for Hibs. Just thought I'd mention just one thing today, Ruffy. It's Pat Stanton's 80th birthday. Yeah. I think I speak from the heart here because I'm a huge fan of Pat Stanton, player and as a man. We've had him on the show. I think if Pat Stanton was available these days, it would be offers in at 100 million just to start.
Yeah, and I think any supporter that's seen him, would agree with that. He strolled through games. You're right when you said he's a fantastic judge of a player since he brought me to Hibs. No, but anybody's worked under Pat, ask any of the boys, Ralph Callaghan, Big George Stewart, anybody, wee rookie, absolute gentleman in the game, and someday there's no many times in your career you get to play for a manager who you want to win games for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that sums him up.
Yeah, wonderful man.
Great man. Hibs, I think they're going to win. 2-1.
I'm going to go for a draw.
Yeah, you seen something in St Johnstone, you think, maybe?
I'm just going to go for a draw. I think both have weaknesses in their team. I think they will share the points tomorrow. Yeah,
I genuinely hope you're wrong, Ali, because we're doing a special feature on Hibs. So I want it to be kind of a positive once it gets to the end of it. What are you going for?
I'm going for 3-1 Hibs.
2-0 Hibs.
Okay, St Mirren against Kilmarnock. Van Veen back in there with a manager that knows him. At St Mirren, playing against Kilmarnock, didn't quite set the head on fire at Kilmarnock, didn't get a chance really.
Yeah, I think there was big question marks over his fitness. I think when he came in January, I think there was just a feeling that he needed to do a fair bit of catch up. We never really saw the kind of form that we had seen previously in the league at Motherwell. So yeah, interesting to see if Stephen Robinson can get the best out of him. I fancy St Mirren tomorrow, just.
Yeah, of course. You were chatting, and I hope we've got this little chat here. You've been chatting to Mark O'Hara. Of course, lots of people looking at clubs now like St Johnstone, like St Mirren, who are hoping to limit the Old Firm fans when they come calling and have more of the stands filled with the home support. Mark O'Hara had a comment on that as well to Alison.
There was a bit of consternation from observers and outsiders last season when St Mirren mentioned that they weren't going to allow Celtic and Rangers fans the same kind of allocations that they'd previously enjoyed in other seasons. But do you feel as though that was a fairly bold move that's worked to St Mirren's advantage?
Well, they definitely have. Obviously, last season we didn't get results against them. The season before, which was the same, we beat Celtic, we drew with Rangers here. And I don't think attendances weren't down. I think if we don't need to, I don't see why we would give them both stands and give them an advantage. I think this is our home, and we need to make it as hard as possible for teams to come. And as I say, it's not affecting attendance, because the attendance is actually, I think, there or thereabouts, if not more, in general in the stadium. So yeah, it was a good bold decision, you say, by the club, but it's one that I think benefits us and gives us more of a chance.
Yeah, great interview, and it's part of a series now. Ruffy McConnell meets, because obviously, as per the terms of a contract, her name's got to be in the title, and she's just going to go around and interview players up and down the country.
Yeah, looked very relaxed there, didn't she? Very sort of.
Yeah.
The demeanour was.
Yeah, you happy with it? Yeah, it's not bad from when I signed her. She took a wee while to integrate into the team, Darren, but she's really finding her own feet now.
She's doing really well. And actually, I'm a big fan of Mark O'Hara.
Yeah,
I think he could easily have played it. I'm not being disrespectful, but I think he could easily have played it in Aberdeen, Hibs, Hearts.
Yeah.
Easily. I think he's an excellent player.
Yeah,
and I think Robbo's one of them. Van Veen, James Scott. He knows what he can get out of them. Great manager, Robbo. We've spoke about in the past where how he's not been linked with other jobs, but he just seems to get things out of players that other managers maybe can't.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I've been critical of it before when they don't allow the full allocation to the fans. I'm quite happy for that to happen if you make that financial decision and the fans turn out.
Yeah,
you should be applauded. And I think St Mirren are the flag bearers of that.
I think where it looks ridiculous and where it's going to invite criticism is when you've got empty seats. So if you're reducing an allocation and then you can't fill it, it seems as though you're cutting your nose off to spite your face. I think in St Mirren's case, they have filled the stands, their own support have come out. It has worked to the advantage, maybe not so much last season, go back the season before. But I think, was it the Hibs Celtic game I was at when the Hibs have cut part of the allocation and you see big rafts of seats that are unsold? I don't think that looks good.
Hearts Rangers as well. Same thing. It's ridiculous.
Do you know what I think it is? Where you're in the league. See, if you're in the top six, like St Mirren were going really well, the fans will come out. If you're in the bottom six and you're not going to sell it, they'll not turn up. And I get it to an extent that you want your fans there.
Yeah.
But you think of the money that they're losing
by empty
all those empty seats that those clubs need.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, one little stat, and I'll say this to you, and I'll give you the stat before you give me a prediction, Ruffy, just to help you along here. St Mirren against Kilmarnock. This is Derek McInnes has faced the Saints in 32 top-flight games. How many has he lost?
8.
5.
1. So
Only lost one.
He's only lost one. So who's...
Come on, 2-0.
Darren?
It's St Mirren, Kilmarnock.
St Mirren.
I'm going 2-0 St Mirren.
Yep.
2-1 St Mirren.
Yep, I'll go 2-1 St Mirren. What about yourself, Ruffy?
Yeah, I'm going to go St Mirren as well.
Yep, okay. Listen, just before we go, and thank you to so many of you for all your points of view. We try and read out as many as possible. Peter King has says, Peter, has Alison dyed her hair? It looks great.
My hairdresser's on holiday. My hairdresser has a flat in Turkey, and at the start of the summer and the end of the summer it disappears for like 5-6 weeks. Not my hair actually desperately needs done.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever you do, don't give out your hairdresser's address just in case his house gets tanned. Yeah, so well done. It's looking good. I'm just reading it. I'm trying to read the positives this week because obviously of your nickname on the internet. I'm reading out all the nice ones about you. Just before we go, this is the English Premier League fixtures, and there's one that's screaming out that will get me watching the games, and it is, of course, Tottenham against Arsenal. Ruffy, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's not really happened for Ange this season the way it did last year. You know, it was a joy to watch last year, but I think he's saying that he's not been given enough money. You know, the same as everybody else, but I think he'll get it together sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Ange himself, always good for a line.
I don't care who I'm representing. I will never go into a game not wanting to win. I'm just not built that way, and I don't care if that's at odds with other people. I understand that, I respect that, but they need to respect me as well, that I will try and win every game I play.
No surprise he said that, because obviously the last season, you know, he was wondering why everybody was wanting Tottenham not to win a match, or, you know, he's not having any of that.
He's not. I mean, you would have, if he had been up here, I don't know how we would have felt. But we'll talk about captains. Odegaard's out. and he's been fantastic for us as a captain, and Rice is probably the kind of vice captain. Those two players are both out, and it's a massive blow for them.
Yeah. What are you going to
I'm going to actually go 2-1 Tottenham.
2-1 Tottenham?
Yeah.
I'm going to say 2-1 Tottenham.
Yeah? I'm going to go 1-0. 1-0. Tottenham. Right, okay. I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal. Just because they're starting to look good. There's something in my... I know you're looking at me, but I'm just... Might as well have a go at it. Also, we'll be talking on Monday's show about the hearing that's going on. Manchester City set to face up to the 115 alleged breaches of top-flight financial rules. We'll find out stage 1 of it on Monday. I don't think we'll get resolution then. We'll certainly be discussing it. Thank you to so many of you who are posting messages. Please tell your friends and get them to hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Have a look at our new advert as well. I'm sure it'll get you into the mood for going to support Scottish football over the weekend. And if you get a chance, download the app as well. Great to see Darren with us, and of course Ruffy and Alison as well. Amazing that on this show, all of us, 3 of us at least, have our hairdresser only a phone call away. But it's going to be a long couple of weeks for Ali, who'll start to look like somebody out of status quo by the time her hairdresser returns. It's as simple as that, Ruffy.
I think you should be bringing these moments up.
Okay, Ruffy. Thanks for watching and listening.